we are watching ourselves tear ourselves apart. We accepted the use of political violence. And then that political violence eventually became violent on the streets. How many injured or dead people do we have to see? How many crying mothers? How many destroyed families? How many disintegrated communities do we have to see before we realize we're headed down the wrong path? The acceptance of political violence is the problem. And yes, it is true. This acceptance of political violence started with the government. But guess what? Politicians ask the police to do what we tell the politicians to do. It's our fault. We like to blame the government. We like to blame the politicians, and fine. But look in the mirror first. Who have you been voting for the last 40 years? Who have you been voting for the last 20 years? Are they still in power? They're your problem. Or is it you? Maybe it was with good intentions. Maybe we thought that if we just tried a little bit of force, we can get a good outcome. We'll use the drug war as a perfect example. Abusing drugs is bad. No one disagrees. But the consequences of using political force to change culture was disastrous. How do we think continuing it is going to go any different? How do we think extending it to the streets? How do we think average people engaging in political violence is going to make the world a better place? It won't. The chaos ends when we decide it ends. The chaos ends when we decide we've all had enough. And when we demand differently from our politicians. We give them different instructions. Politics, politicians, and police all use the same Latin root. We can never forget that. They are the same. They do what we ask. It's a blunt instrument. Be careful what you ask it to do. And I don't have answers. I'm just an average guy being shoved into a position because the community asked me to. And now I'm lecturing my community. We here in Sacramento are lucky. Our protest community has done a good job of disassociating themselves with the violence. I applaud you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are doing the community a great service. The rest of us have to do our part. And stop supporting those who will engage in chaos. If you go somewhere with a riot kit and a gun or a gun, you are not trying to make the world a better place. Not right now. Right now, you are just helping the chaos. Before you act, think, is this genuinely going to make the world a better place? Or is it just going to make me feel better? We've seen across the country where people from outside towns come in and cause destruction. I read a story today of a young black father holding his daughter, crying, and watching looking at the destruction, saying, "This wasn't us. This was people from outside the area coming in and burning our town in our name." It's just so wrong. And the political classes have now taken up sides. They're cheering the dead or cheering the killer, depending upon whose side they're on. It's gross. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. And quite frankly, many people of my own political persuasion have done the same thing. You should be ashamed of yourselves. It's gross. Stop it. The world has to change. But it doesn't start somewhere else. It starts in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, please remember to love everybody.